Self-esteem is shaped by our thoughts, relationships, and experiences. Self-esteem is your overall opinion of yourself, how you feel about your abilities and limitations. When you have healthy self-esteem, you feel good about yourself and see yourself as deserving the respect of others. But when you have low self-esteem, you put little value on your opinions and ideas. You may constantly worry that you aren't good enough. Sometimes our thoughts of feeling less than define who we are and how we allow ourselves to be treated in a relationship. Today, we're going to take a look at how to tell if your self-esteem needs a boost and why it's important to develop a healthy sense and own your self-worth. And look and see, are you in a healthy relationship? Let's get started. Hello, I'm Lisa Bien, and welcome to Bouncing Back.
God makes a way.
Be honest and communicate.
Your authentic self.
That's so critical. Thanks for joining us on this edition of Bouncing Back. Let's welcome our guest. Erika DeAngelo is a junior here at Temple University. She was involved in a very abusive relationship for 9 months. For the majority of the time, it was her, mostly having to check in with her boyfriend every hour if she was out, having to send her outfits before she would go out, along with preventing her from going out by picking her up from her apartment and taking her home, so she physically could not go out. Her breaking point came when Valentine's Day he bought her a scale, and he told her to lose 15 pounds. She realized what she was allowing him to do, and she just could not take it anymore. Breaking up with him also was including breaking up with her low self-esteem issues. She has never felt more self-love than she has in the past 7 months. She didn't even know what was happening at first. She just allowed it. And now she really wants to help people going through similar situations at her age. Welcome. Next guest is Allison Faust, a social worker and behavior specialist consultant. She has her master's in social work and will discuss the importance of self-esteem, poor self-esteem leading to anxiety, building self-esteem, and the effects on relationships. She will provide ways to identify low self-esteem and properly increase self-esteem and one's vision of him or herself. Allison will also provide us signs to assess an unhealthy relationship and how to rebuild one's self-esteem and prepare for future relationships. Well, thank you both for joining us today. This is one of my favorite topics to talk about. So I'm gonna try my hardest to be quiet and let you guys do all the talking. But so let's start first with your story that you actually came to me and said, I wanna be on your show. I wanna tell your story. Tell us why you feel so compelled to tell this story.
I mostly came to you at first because I liked all the topics you brought up on your show, and I thought that this one was different, but also it could be an issue that a lot of girls, even guys my age, are struggling with, that they don't really see as emotional abuse as predominant in relationships our age than, like, say, an older couple. So I really thought about it, and the more I had time to reflect about that relationship I had last year, gave me more time to think about it and to be able to talk about it and, like, want to help other people.
That's great. So why don't you share with both of us about what your story was?
I met him in high school. I never really was interested in him. He always sort of had, like, a crush on me. Fast forward to college, we reconnected. We started hanging out more, and I felt like comfortable, and I felt like I should just, date him.
It was easy.
It was easy, yeah.
I have a feeling that as we go on in this conversation, we'll say that a lot of folks are in relationships that are unhealthy or healthy because it's easy, right?
And it's just there, and it's someone that you had a previous not relationship, but you kind of knew, so it's kind of like, oh, okay. I know this person, probably not going to be a bad thing.
So you go out with them.
Yeah, I start dating him. And, like, throughout the whole relationship, he was mostly, he's a very big into, like, fitness and health, whatever that means in his, like, for him. But
well, it's important to him that he exercises and he takes good care of himself.
That's what but I think that was his own personal low self-esteem that he, like, just executes to make up for other things he doesn't feel. So throughout the relationship, it got more and more, especially when because we started dating in the summer. So when I came back to college for my second year, he would try and convince me almost every day to go to the gym and work out, and like wouldn't talk to me until I like would get back from the gym.
So let's stop there for just 1 second, because I think that this is an interesting topic that we should talk about. You're in this relationship, and then we know that the ending, we know that it's an unhealthy relationship. We have identified that. But in the beginning of a relationship, how do we know that it is an unhealthy relationship? Because I work out, and my boyfriend works out, and my boyfriend and I kind of push each other to work out. That seems kind of normal.
Right.
Yeah.
And it can be. Having the partner, the relationship you're in, whether it's like friendship or romantic relationship, intimate, whatever, should be supportive and patient, right? So supportive in the sense of, I want you to work out, and it can come from a really like healthy place of, hey, let's work out together, it's good for us, versus I want you to work out because you got stuff to work on.
Yeah.
That's not supportive, especially if it's not something you enjoy. And patient, if that's not something you enjoy. Okay, well, what is something you enjoy? Especially keeping, doing something healthy. If that was his goal, we can do other things that you would enjoy more and you would feel comfortable about. But it's not supportive. If it's not feeling supportive,
if it's kind of like, get up, you're
Yes.
looking fat these days,
Yes.
you need to go to the gym,
Yeah, and
that's
like-
not supportive. Or if it's, hey, come on, I'm going to take you to the gym because we need to work
or
out.
let's take a walk. I mean, there's so many, you should feel supported, not pushed.
So that's great. So number one is we want to identify that you should feel supportive, not pushed. That's excellent. So now you're going out with him.
Well, like I do work out. Like I like to like, but like at my own speed, at my own pace kind of thing. And he would be like, you're not going to the gym today. Here's an at-home workout to do if you don't have time. And I'd be like, I have like 3 classes today. I'm involved with clubs. I do other things. And I was like, I just like need like 5 minutes to myself. So as like the fall semester went on, he was being more and more like pushy about like getting me, like thinking about getting me cycling classes for Christmas, and like just like pushing me in a not
Critical.
like in a very critical way. And it's not like I'm like, no, I don't feel like it, I'd rather sit on the couch and eat chips. It's like I'll go when I want to go.
So that's an excellent point. That's another great point. You were already working out.
Yeah.
You didn't really need to tell, this guy wasn't really there to tell you that you had to work out.
Yeah.
He was telling you to work out, but you were like, listen, I'll go when I want to go. So that's,
Absolutely. And thought processes, right? So what we're thinking is really triggers behavior. So if that's all that he's thinking about, and then for you, then that's probably consuming a lot of your thought process. Oh my gosh, he's going to ask me about the gym, or we're going to talk about weight, or this is going to consume our entire relationship. Your behaviors are either going to go into, okay, I guess I have to do this all the time, and the things that need the attention that you just said are not going to get that, or it's going to, you're going to see some anxiety about it. Oh my gosh, he's going to ask me, I didn't go to the gym. And then we look at depression, and it goes into so many other things.
So low self-esteem, I mean, you're right, it just funnels into so many different things. But I want to, let's get through her story, and then we're going to go more. So you're working out, and then he gives you a scale on Valentine's Day, which, by the way, I really don't recommend for anybody watching the show. A scale is not like
A
that's
dream
like giving somebody
gift,
a
yeah.
blender or a vacuum. That's not the gift you want to give. Okay.
Yeah, so I really wanted to get more involved with school, so I went out for sorority recruitment. And he was totally against it, totally didn't want me to do it, but I did it. And by that point, it was like the end of January, and it was starting to like I was over it for a long time, but like you said, it was just easy, and I felt like I had to be in the relationship. He bought me nice gifts besides the scale. Like he would buy me nice things, and like,
He bought me nice gifts besides the scale.
So like I just felt like
A gift certificate to a Weight Watchers
yeah,
program.
right. But so once I got in my sorority, he was just, I guess, very jealous that I gave my attention to like another thing in my life. So
So that's interesting too.
Yeah.
So it's interesting that you've done such great self-work to see that, well, look, he's jealous of the attention that I was giving to somebody else. That's a
Isolation is a huge part of identifying low self-esteem, and he
Yeah.
wanted you isolated.
yeah, like you said, he would pick me up Fridays from school, so I didn't go out. When I did, the one time I went out for my birthday in November, made me text him like every so often. So by the beginning of February, before Valentine's Day, I was so annoyed, disgusted, wanted to do my own thing. And then we had a horrible weekend that weekend. And then Tuesday, the scale shows up, and I was just like, no. I was like, I can't do this anymore. And that was that.
So you broke up with him and you stepped away from it. Now you feel like you're on this road to loving yourself.
Yeah.
But so it sounds like she still has, we all, not that you still, let me say that we all have work to do in that area, right? Every single person who is watching the show, we all do sitting here. So just because we're talking about this subject matter doesn't mean that we have nailed it, right?
Oh, absolutely. Everybody has something that they're not confident about, or they don't feel that they're great at, or they want to work at. And there's that healthy level. It's, you know, defining, okay, what's not healthy, where it's easy to kind of attack me without it being clear necessarily. And where I feel okay about this is something I need to work on, but in a healthy, supportive, and gradual process.
So I have a question. Did you ever go to your girlfriends during this time and say, well, this is what he's doing? Because on college campuses, you know, that's who your family is. Your family are your girlfriends, and you're in a sorority, right? Did you ever go to them and say, he's texting me all the time? Because some women, I think, or let's say men or women, anybody in a relationship may say, oh my God, they're texting me all the time. They really care about me. They may see that as love, and they must misconstrue that as love. Did you ask anybody else, is this normal?
Part of me didn't, because it was embarrassing. I felt like he was being like my father, and if my dad wasn't texting me Erica, what are you doing? Why should anybody else? My dad's happy I'm living my life.
We're going to continue our conversation in just a minute. We're going to continue our conversation about bouncing back from unhealthy relationships when we come right back. Welcome back. We're talking about bouncing back from unhealthy relationships today. Well, I could just spend a whole lot of time talking about this, so let's get right back into it. You were talking about texting and having a relationship with your father, I guess, and how much your dad would text you. So it leads me to a great point, a great question, I'm sorry. Did your mom and dad teach you how to have self-esteem? Did they ever have that conversation about, Erica, here's what it means to love yourself. Erica, here's what it means to take care of yourself.
Actually, I am so blessed to have the parents I have. I'm very close with both of them, and from a very young age, especially my dad, always showed me how I should and shouldn't be treated. So when this all came crashing down, this relationship, my dad was so hurt. He was he couldn't believe somebody was treating me like this. So
You made a face. What's that?
Well, it's fun.
I caught that face.
As a parent, I can appreciate that. And I think sometimes, too, when we talk about an unhealthy relationship, a lot of people go to the extreme. You weren't physically, assaulted or anything. So sometimes the line gets very gray, but is it abusive? Is it not okay? Is it okay? Because it wasn't, the most extreme kind of danger in a relationship.
Yeah, my dad didn't see him hitting me, so he wasn't this kid's a bad kid. Right. So the act he would put on in front of my parents hid everything he was basically doing. So
your parents liked them?
My parents, not so much my dad. My dad could kind of tell, but my mom thought I don't know. My mom is my best friend. I tell her everything.
It's a fine line as a parent,
yeah.
Right? It's a very fine line as a parent to say to your child, male or female, if you don't like their partner. It's very challenging to say, if we don't like the partner that you've picked, because the first thing they're going to do is run to that person, right? So maybe the best advice we can give people is, if you're in a relationship, whether it's a friend, your dad, or even a sorority sister, and you see one of your sorority sisters maybe being in a bad relationship, what advice can we give to maybe help build their self-esteem? How do we build people's self-esteem as friends?
Absolutely, because the first thing you want to say is, oh my gosh, there's something up, there's something wrong, this isn't good, this isn't healthy. But like you just said, that'll kind of push them closer. It would be more of showing them support. You can offer some kind of, hey, I'm just seeing this maybe about the person's behavior. You might have changed in some things you would have done. You probably withdrew to an extent, right? Isolated a little bit. And instead offer that support. Is there something going on? Do you want to talk about it? More supportive rather than attacking, even if that's not your intention. Because with the low self-esteem, he was giving you a ton of attention. He was buying you gifts. So even though it was unhealthy and it was past that appropriate line, still there was a part of you that felt kind of good. Okay, I'm his whole world, until it didn't. right? And at that point, you probably weren't sure what you wanted and didn't want. So I have a boyfriend. I'm in college. You know what? I have everything going.
And when you're in college, you think that's the most important thing to have, right? I'm in college. I got to have the boyfriend. I want to have the perfect life. Well, guess what, guys? There's no such thing as a perfect life, right? I want to have the perfect college experience. No such thing as the perfect college experience. It's all of our own experiences, right?
Right.
So I guess my question is, and I'm dying to know the answer to this, is do you believe that we are born with healthy self-esteem? Is it innate in us, or is it possible that we can learn? I guess it is possible that we can learn, but I sometimes think that people are born just by the product of their environment and they just unhealthy self-esteem.
I think environment is everything. I really do. You know, if you grow up in a house where you're constantly told very vague, you're great, you're wonderful, you're beautiful, you're great, but not anything specific, it kind of can go into that road of just this unhealthy level of like self-esteem. Well, I'm great. I don't know why, but you know.
I'm great, but I don't know why.
I know I am.
So let's give an example of
so
what would
more
be
specific, you know, especially if we're going even younger and we're starting to build that healthy self-esteem as a kid, an elementary age. You know, wow, that was a gorgeous picture you drew. I really like what you did there, and kind of giving specifics. What does it look like when you do something great, or what about you specifically? And not just kind of, your hair looks really pretty today, which is a great compliment, but about you, right? Because there's going to be days your hair doesn't look great, but your personality will remain the same. So really building that, so it's the compliments and all the positive thought is more about the person rather than kind of what you're looking at there. Because the thought process is what drives the behaviors.
It's inside, and so
Absolutely.
it's all the work comes from inside.
Absolutely.
And so it's. I wrote a book about self-esteem and building your self-esteem, and I wrote that it's hard work. And before the book was going to be published, someone said, take out that word hard. Whatever you do, take out the word hard, because nobody wants to work hard. And I said, but it is hard work. it is hard work. We have to wake up every day and remind ourselves of who we are, especially in today's world, right? So today's world, we have all this social media, all this, your age is just brutal with it, right? You know, look at all the pictures, you have to look great. So I guess, what are some tips we could give everybody, maybe how to work on their inside, not on their outside, not go to the gym, but do something else maybe.
Right. And for some, that is something that really, you know, helps, you know, really identify what you don't want in not just boyfriend-girlfriend relationship, but in life, a life goal, a relationship, whatever that may be. What don't you want? And then narrow down to, okay, what do I want? And the relationship I'm in, the career I'm in, whatever that may be, is that something that is getting you further to whatever that goal is? And really assess, does your self-value and how you see yourself and your worth, does that coincide with each other? Or is that going against how you see yourself and what you do want? And if you're in some type of relationship where you're thinking to yourself, oh, I see some of these kind of similarities that I'm hearing here, you assess, nope, that's not working. And really, you kind of got to face it and accept, you know, I might have to make a decision about this, and be okay with that. Like making a huge change, whether it's, you know, a friendship or a boyfriend, girlfriend, whatever, that's going to be painful to some extent, even though you said, I'm done. There's still kind of a grieving because you were together for, you know, several months. So there's still that point, but be okay with, I do have to change something and it's not going along with the plan I have for me.
That's exactly what happened to me. Once I cut him out of my life, I had the support and the love from the people I just met, and I met some of my best friends through this organization. People like girls gave me such.
So you had to become okay with the change. There's so much I want to talk about. Okay, so first, identifying the change and making the change, right? Yeah. There's a lot that happens in between. So you identify the change. I want to not be in this relationship anymore. And let's face it, a healthy relationship doesn't necessarily mean boyfriend, girlfriend. It can be any relationship.
Absolutely.
Right? So I love what you said. First we have to identify the change and then we have to make the change. Well, how do you get to there? There's a whole lot of stuff that goes on in there because suppose it's a relationship that you can't break up with.
Yeah.
How do you create healthy relationships with people that you really can't break up with?
Right. And that's using a support, and you mentioned that a lot, really trying to, and that would probably be a big thing, is in that in between there when you said you felt embarrassed, that would have been the time to be like, who do I value and who supports me and who do I know I can trust, whatever advice, whatever is coming. The support in your community, right, in your environment is who to go to. Who do I really value what they're saying and won't judge me? So you probably felt if I did go to someone, there would be an amount of judgment. Like, how could I let this happen? In a sense, putting ownership on you, which isn't fair.
Yeah.
But using the support around you.
I think creating healthy boundaries is really important
very
too.
much.
Because let's face it, you may have a brother or a sister or somebody that is not healthy for you either, and you have to create some really healthy boundaries. And I love what you said. You said assess. I think that's really important. I think we all need to remember to assess our relationships. Right. I think we get on the, I call it the treadmill of life. We get on the treadmill and we go and Monday through Friday, and we're working and we work for the weekends. Boom. So, and make the change and be okay with it.
Right.
And as we change and we develop that healthier sense of self, a lot of people aren't okay with it, right? So and I also love what you said about identify what you want. What do you think about creating almost like a core values sheet, right?
Oh, absolutely.
I actually have, like, I bought a bunch of mantra bands and, like, have, like, Post-it notes about, like, I know you've said this before to me, that when you wake up in the morning, you pipe yourself up. Like that's what I had to love myself first before anybody else can, like, allow anybody else to do that.
Well, we really have to not only love ourselves, we have to like who we are, genuinely like who we are as people, and accept it, right?
And I don't think people realize when they don't love themselves. Like, that's absolutely 100% true, and I don't think people always recognize, oh, I guess I'm really not loving myself. So that's something to look into.
That's an excellent point too. So many people will talk about, oh my God, I had the worst day ever, and I'll be like, well, was it a bad moment that you just you just made it the worst day ever, and you're beating yourself up? Yes. We do that, right?
Yeah.
So low self-esteem can lead into anxiety and what?
Exaggerating things like that is another big thing with the low self-esteem. And there's days when you're like, we're just going to call that a day, like we're just done, we're going to move on, where it's like every day it kind of just builds and you're exaggerating, you're like, that was really bad. Was that really bad? And kind of, self-assess in a sense, when we're talking about, your morning ritual or your daily, some Post-its with some positive affirmations is a good thing. And even at the end of the day, there always should be something where you're like, okay, that wasn't too bad, like that was okay, or that went well, or that, trying to find that, because if you can't and you're having constant negative thoughts and you're critical, that's definitely a huge sign everything is going wrong. Everything probably isn't going wrong, but if that becomes a consistent pattern, it's probably time to really assess, is my self-esteem not at a good place?
Well, so it's interesting that you said that about the negative thought process, because I think I read, I forget what the statistic was, but we spend more time talking to ourselves negatively than positively. But you know what? I could spend a whole nother hour, maybe two, talking about this, but we don't have the time. We're running out of time. So I just want to say thank you so much. Thank you to my guests, Erica DeAngelo and Allison Faust, for joining us today on Bouncing Back. We all define relationships in different ways, and they can be the most meaningful part of people's lives. All couples run into relationship troubles, but we all need to make sure our relationships are healthy to begin with. In order for a relationship to be healthy, it needs a few key ingredients: healthy communication, healthy boundaries. Relationships that are not healthy are based on power and control. Remember, that's a choice, and you deserve to be respected, and there is no excuse for control of any kind. Sometimes relationships can feel like a lot of work. A thriving, healthy relationship requires some give and take, and absolutely is within your reach. If you think that you're in an unhealthy relationship filled with negativity, or you're not sure, please ask a family member or for a friend for help. Remember, you deserve to be in a healthy relationship. And let's not forget, the relationship you can always boost up is the one with yourself. Once again, I'm Lisa Bien, and I look forward to seeing you next time on Bouncing Back. Hello, I'm Lisa Bien, and welcome to Bouncing Back.
God makes a way. Be honest and communicate.
Your authentic self.
That's so critical.